My name is Janet Pope. I am the Executive Director for the Louisiana School Boards Association, and we have started last year a public school coalition of 6 stakeholder groups. And I'd like to thank the Rapides Foundation and the Arts Council for allowing us to have our first BESE forum here in Rapides Parish. This forum is the first in a series of 12 statewide forums designed to give new and incumbent BESE candidates an opportunity to speak directly to their constituents about the issues facing public education and the solutions that they propose. All interested members of the community were invited to attend this BESE candidate forum this evening. District 5 covers 19 parishes, so due to the size of this district, we will have another District 5 forum next Thursday, September 26th at the University of Louisiana Monroe at the library. BESE serves 3 primary functions. They hire the superintendent, they open the rules and regulations for public schools, they propose the MFP, which is our minimum foundation program funding formula, they approve type 2 charter schools, and they also drive policy for non-public schools and oversee teacher certification. So we have 2 candidates in District 5. First, we have Ms. Ashley Ellis, and we have Dr. Stephen Chapman. So I'm going to turn it over to our moderator, KALB News Director, Al Cormack.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Glad you could be with us here today. And we do want to start out telling you just a little bit more about the Louisiana Public School Coalition, with whom Janet is a part of. It's a joint effort between the Louisiana Association of Educators, the Louisiana Federation of Teachers, the Louisiana Association of Principals, the Louisiana Association of School Superintendents, the Louisiana School Boards Association, and the Louisiana Retired Teachers Association. And I think that hits some of the people who are here today have either been part of those groups or maybe currently part of that. And together, this coalition collectively represents the interests of tens of thousands of education professionals, paraprofessionals, employees, lawmakers, and retirees who are dedicated to improving the state's public education to meet the needs of students, educators, and their communities. And probably one of the ways we really saw that was in this last legislative session, when this group really worked hard on some of the things that were eventually passed in the session, specifically some pay raises for teachers and support personnel. So it was, as Janet and I were talking about earlier, a chance for all these different groups that have in the past kind of brought all their voices separately to Baton Rouge to come together collectively, and maybe in that being a little bit more effective. So obviously this is a very important forum here today because we're talking about an important race in BESE District 5. Succeeding Dr. Gary Jones, who will not be seeking re-election, and we have a couple of new faces that are jumping into this race. And first of all, we congratulate both of you and thank you for doing that, because we know it's not an easy effort when you're doing any kind of a campaign, but this one I think is even a little more unique because you're talking about the future of children in school districts. So hopefully here tonight we can cover a lot of topics and get you guys some answers for some questions that you might be looking for as well. And so let's go ahead and jump right into it. First question would be, just give us a little bit about your background and talk a little bit why you decided to get into this race. What kind of motivated you to run? And I think we have microphones for each of you, so let's go ahead and start. Who wants to go first? All right.
Hello.
There you go. Sounds like it's working.
Well, hello. I'm Ashley Ellis. I am from Monroe, Louisiana. I'm a 17-year educator. I've worked in elementary, middle school, and high school level, and currently I'm an administrator at Neville High School in Monroe. Don't hold that against me. No, I'm in the wrong parish. I jumped into this BESE race because I feel like, I'm uniquely qualified. Oftentimes teachers don't get this opportunity, or we don't take this opportunity, partly because we're busy. We're doing what we do every day in the classroom. This has been a challenge, from 4 or 5 o'clock till midnight. Getting ready for this campaign is definitely dedication, but I believe it's important. I believe what we're doing as educators, our voices need to be heard, and I believe running for BESE makes a difference for all of our students across the When I say uniquely qualified, I also want to recognize that, I'm also a mother. I also have a special needs child. So I look at things from a very different perspective, not only as an educator, but as a parent and as a special needs parent. I guess that's it.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Dr. Stephen Chapman.
I want to hold the mic just a little closer to you.
Before I get into my background, I'd like to thank the Louisiana Public School Coalition for putting this forum on, and all the other forums that are going to be taking place throughout the state.
Still can't hear, but
A little closer.
that's better. Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah. But all the races in the BESE election this year are going to be important. The dynamics of the board overall is going to be important as far as the direction, the future of our education. Not only do I want to thank the Louisiana Public School Coalition for putting this on, but I'd also like to introduce my biggest supporter and probably my most solid critic, my wife Martha. Wife for 51 years. I was asked maybe a week ago to put together a resume. I hadn't done a resume in a long time. I've been practicing dentistry for 41 years. I looked for a job, so I didn't have to put together a resume. So I did. I showed it to my daughter, who's my campaign manager. And she looked at it, she said, "That's quite impressive." I said, "Well, it's just my life." But I graduated from Bolton High School. I went to Northeast, graduated from Northeast Louisiana University. I graduated from Louisiana State University School of Dentistry. I practiced dentistry in Alexandria since 1978. I served as a dentist in the Alexandria Health Unit. I served as staff dentist for several nursing homes throughout the city. I served as staff dentist for St. Mary's Residential Home. I served as a clinical instructor at Tulane University and a staff dentist at CD4 Clinic at Huron Hospital in England Airport. And I currently serve as staff dentist for Westside Rehabilitation Residential and Evergreen Residential. I was involved in youth athletics as a coach and then as president, board member of the Alexandria Athletics Association, president, board member of Alexandria District, president, board member of Alexandria Youth Baseball Association, president of the Alexandria Senior High School Trophy Club. I was asked to be the board member of the Alexandria Country Base Group. Then somewhere along the line, somebody convinced me to run for the Rapids Ferry School Board. And I've been on the Rapids Ferry School Board now for almost 17 years. And I've served as the president for the Rapids Ferry. Dr. Jones talked to me, well actually, had some discussion with Dr. Jones 4 years ago about who would be actually the candidate at that time to run for president, because I was interested. And we agreed and disagreed that it would be him. But with that being said, I want to be your representative on the BESE, to be your tireless advocate. I will listen to, consult with all stakeholders. I will use my experience and knowledge of the school board members to communicate and collaborate with the other BESE members. I will work to establish a consensus with the BESE members and the state superintendent to set policies that engage, empower, and elevate public education. I will be a voice of no nonsense, common sense, a voice of reason, and an independent voice free of any obligations to special interest groups. And that's why I want to run for BESE, and that's why I want to be your BESE board member and district.
Okay, thank you both of you. So you can see that we have two people who large part of their lives have been committed to education. One who has been an actual educator and one who has supported education a little bit more from the outside until getting involved in the school board. So maybe different approaches, but yet having kind of the same heart and the same concern. I want to ask you a little bit about, it was just released by Education Week Research Center, The rankings for school systems. Louisiana fourth from the bottom, just below Mississippi with a D+ overall rating. Last for 8th grade math, 49th for family income. So as we've seen candidates come and go through the years for statewide elections, for regional elections, for district elections, it doesn't always seem like things are getting better or improving. What would you each say to that, and what would be kind of your major thing that you would like to bring to the table to help see education improve here in the state of Louisiana? Dr. Chapman, start
Yes,
with.
sir. Let's start off. That's right. You can hear me. This educational success in the state is, like you said, it's multi-factorial. There's no simple one thing that you can do to solve the problem. Also, for us to be realistic, because I've worked with school boards in the past, the makeup of the board, the mindset of the board members, and the way that the board members work together is the number one thing that you've got to have. Also, you've got to have a working relationship with the superintendent to be able to bring policies to the table, have those policies passed, and then put those policies in place. If you don't have that scenario, then nothing's going to get done. And so this is a situation where not only in District 5 do you have to put somebody in place who's going to be able to work with the other board members and the superintendent, it's going to have to take place throughout the state.
Okay. I agree that collaboration is key. And one of the things that, we as educators want to hear is we want to hear people listening to us. When we talk about pulling the board together, pulling the state together, I really think we have hearts and we talk about changing hearts and minds. But as educators, I think we need to start talking about changing hearts and mouths. What we say about our profession, what we say about what's going on in education has affected a lot of things. Negatively, students, I'm a high school administrator. Students don't want to take the, do you want to be a teacher class? If I said, who wants to be a teacher, no one raises their hand. I have to convince them of doing something else to change the world, to change minds, and they're ready to do that. Oh, but that's not teaching. And I think that part of what we need to do is we need to be pulling people together. I work in a staff in a school with 85 teachers. And all of you who are educators know that that's a tough crowd. 85 teachers, pulling 85 teachers together and saying, here's our vision, here's our goal for this building, is a big deal. And it's a lot of work. And that means you have to listen to people. That means you have to collaborate and communicate well. And you have to value what everyone brings to the table. I think with BESE, I think we're in a position where so much negativity has happened over the last 5 to 8 years for different reasons, that teachers are just frustrated, the communities are frustrated, and our students feel that from us. And I think it's time for us to bring back the respect to the profession, and having educators on the BESE board is a big part of that. We need to be heard, and we need to let people know that we're fighting for our students as well.
So let's kind of go a little deeper with that. You're talking about kind of a loss of respect for the profession and a lack of desire of people who want to go into education. How much of that would you tie to the actual pay that teachers are getting, or is it something beyond that, just a loss of professionalism regardless of what pay is?
I'll start.
Go ahead.
I think pay is always going to be an issue for educators. I think when I'm looking at recruiting the best teachers, and I need a math teacher that teaches calculus at a high school level, that's a hard sell. They can find jobs anywhere else. And so our pay is a big issue when it comes to morale. But when you look at a teacher across the hall from you, and you know that they're not working as hard as you, and we're on the same pay scale, those are questions that we as educators all have concerns with. I think that the morale issue comes from obviously holding on to poor educators and not being able to elevate the profession because of that, but also not being able to find the very best teachers because we're not providing a livable wage for some of our teachers. I did some research looking at Louisiana, Texas, and we're some of our districts are really close to the Texas border. And I just wanted to see what we're looking at. A starting salary for a small town of 34,000 people in Kilgore, Texas is $49,000 with zero experience. I'm looking at West Carroll Parish in my district, starting salary is $30,000. That's a problem, and we need to talk about that. What does that mean? Where does the money come from? Those are the questions we need to be talking about. But certainly there's MFP money coming to us. Where's it going? What's the transparency in the district? And can that money start going to teachers like it really is designed to do?
Dr. Chapman, you want to address that as well?
Could you rephrase that for me?
Yeah, we're just talking about what seems to be sort of a lack of love for the profession, people having that passion for it, and kind of addressed it. Is it merely a matter of getting paid more, or has there been something that's kind of taken away the love of the profession?
I think pay has is a big factor in the, can you hear me now? I think pay is a big factor in the loss of the love for the profession. But you also have to look at other factors that come into play too. Look at what a teacher does on a daily basis. Not only does she prepare to teach, but she has to deal with discipline problems. She has to deal with problems that come from home. She has to deal with all these other issues, and it's a profession that you have to have a degree in education. You have to have some type of degree in psychology. You have to have some knowledge as to the social impact that's taking place at home. So a teacher doesn't just have to have an education degree. They've got to have background and all these other things. So pay is important, but then the other issues that come to play in the daily teaching profession, I think has something to do with it also.
So then what, as a BESE board member, if you were to win, what do you do to help that situation?
I don't think that, to be completely honest with you, I don't think there's a whole lot that the BESE board member can do as far as what happens at home. You can encourage parental involvement. You can encourage community involvement, but there's no policy, I think, that you can put in place that is going to mandate or fix the social issues.
And Ashley, you've had a lot of experience in the classroom. Let me just give you the same follow-up there.
When I think about what keeps things from moving forward and teachers from being happy with their work, what I've learned is that the best teachers will always do what you ask them to do. And unfortunately, when we think about even the evaluation process for teachers, what we find is that the ones who worry about it are the ones who are doing the best. And I would like to address that somehow. I'm not sure how that would look in policy. I'm not sure how we move forward there, but the compass evaluation has good parts. But what I've found is my best teachers are the only ones who worry about it, and I'm telling them all the time, it's okay, you're okay. A 3.5 is great, but we're teachers, we're perfectionists, we want an A, we want a 4 on everything. And what I would like to do is do less observing of teachers who are fabulous and amazing, and I know they're doing their job. And I want to focus on teachers who need my supports. I have 85 teachers in my building, and I have to do 35 compass evaluations between now and Christmas. That's a lot of work. It takes 3 hours a teacher. For me, I could be spending my time on those new teachers, those ineffective teachers, the teachers that are struggling in the classroom. I could be supporting them. Instead, I'm just going through the motions. And I would like to address that,
So is that something that could be addressed at the state level then?
It could. Our evaluation system is part of that. And I know that the accountability piece all falls into the compass evaluation system as well.
So kind of on that note, we've heard so much over the last 10, 15, 20 years about education reform and things that have been tried come down from the Department of Education on the national level, come to the state comes to the individual districts, things like that. Is it too top heavy, too top down, or do we need to trust more individual districts, individual schools to know their personnel and their teaching methods to best reach their children? What would you say about that?
Okay. Teacher accountability. We've tied teacher accountability to student assessment, and now we've got school performance scores, district performance scores. All these things are being tied to student assessment. I think it has reached a point where it's top heavy. We need to get back to a teacher evaluation being a teacher evaluation. A student assessment being an assessment of the student performance. A school performance score, a district performance score, I think is weighted too heavy on the student assessment. So yes, it is top heavy. And the only way I think that this can be rectified is that a coalition of BESE board members working with the superintendent and trying to make some changes that are positive for the state, for the teachers, and for the students. We're doing way too much testing. We're weighting everything too heavy on the student assessment.
Top down or at district level, I talk about this a lot. I have traveled around the district and worked with different districts across District 5. I worked with West Carroll, Lincoln, Richland, Caldwell, Monroe City, and here's what I see. Unfortunately, across our state, there are districts that are really not making the gains they need to make. And if you take the accountability piece away 100%, what you'll find is that, some of our students, and oftentimes our most at-risk students, lose. And what we need to look at is, okay, if we're going to continue with accountability, how do we make it fair and equitable amongst all schools? How do we hold districts accountable to using the resources the way they need to? But then that top-down approach, if we want federal funds, then there are strings attached to that, and we have to decide, do we want that money or not? At the end of the day, I'll tell you what all the superintendents will say. Yes, they want that money. So we have to figure out if we're going to take the money. Maybe we're too rigorous with our accountability. We can evaluate that, but maybe we need to evaluate how do we take what BESE says, which is the Every Student Succeeds Act from the federal government, and how do we adjust what we're doing to make it work for our districts and state. Top heavy, but we want the money, so what's the solution? We're gonna have to sit down and talk about that.
Some serious issues looking at there. So just give me just overall sense of, for each of you, what will your approach be to your job, say different from your respective opponent, would you say? I know it's kind of a tough question, but what would be your main approach, say, as compared to Dr. Chuck?
I think I have intimate knowledge of what's going on, and unfortunately, in most worlds, you don't put people who aren't in that profession on the board, and that's not disrespectful. That's just the facts. If you know something, you know it. And I'm a professional. I've been an educator for 17 years. I worked in Texas. I worked in California. My husband was a Marine, so I got to experience some fun things. And then we're back here in Louisiana, so I've seen what other states are doing as well. I think that, I think what I'll bring to the board is the fact that I don't just see a policy, I see implementation of a policy. How do we make this actually work, and how will it affect teachers and students in the classroom and in schools? That, to me, is what makes, me unique. And, back to what I said earlier, this is not what we do. This is not what teachers do. I've never been a political candidate. This is new for me, but I'm passionate enough about this topic, and I'm passionate enough about our students in the state to step up and say yes, because we need to be heard, teachers need to be heard, and students need to be heard.
And what I bring different to the table, actually, who is an experienced teacher, knowledgeable as to the educational process, is that over the last 17 years, I've learned to work as a board member, work as a corporate guy, collaborate with the superintendent, let the superintendent and his administrative staff be the educational gurus. And then the board members take that information, they ask the critical questions, they build a coalition, and then they move forward with these policies to make positive changes or positive improvements in the school system. So I know how to do that, I'm willing to do that, and that's where I have a different perspective and possibly actually with our teaching.